Jason Baffrey, we are live, sir.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Coach Talk TV, where we believe that coaching and coaches are an essential part of human development. You'll learn how having a guide in your own personal development can change your life, improve your relationships, and enhance your work experience. I'm Jason Baffrey, and this is Rhonda Boyle. You are watching Coach Talk TV, where we have coaching conversations that matter.
Yo ho, we sure do have coaching conversations that matter, and we have an amazing guest with us today, Scott Hunter, coming in from the UK across the pond.
Yeah, we're international again.
I know. I can't wait to see what Scott is up to, and so we'll be introducing him in just a minute. Hey, we're glad that you have joined us. Jason, tell everybody where they can find us on the podcast.
Well, if you are looking for us, the easiest way is to go to coachtalk.tv. That'll take you straight to our Facebook page. You can also find our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/c/coachtalktv. We'd appreciate you to give us a subscription there and ring the little bell so you get notified when we have new shows coming out. You can also find our audio podcast on iTunes and Spotify and all of your favorite podcast outlets. We're basically everywhere. World domination is our game.
Look for us as Coach Talk TV across all social media. So yeah, we're getting out there and we're getting the word out about coaching and how important coaching is. It's really kind of taking a high priority right now as companies are, dealing with some new challenges, let's just say.
Yeah, and we've been gone for a while. This is our third Discover Coaching series of 2020, and we will be with you for the next 2 weeks live every day right here at different times. So keep an eye on our Facebook page so you can see when the live shows are, but then of course you can watch the repeat or come back later, and then be sure to share that with all of your friends and people that you want to influence and that sort of thing as well. But we have a great lineup of coaches over the next couple of weeks, so you'll want to be with us every day for that great information.
Every day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get over to the Facebook page. Hey, by the way, if you want to come over and chat with us over here live, all you have to do is go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and then we get to see who you are. So go hit that and then say, hey, in the chat box. We're so glad you're here today. Jason,
yes,
I hear you've been traveling, sir. Where you been?
I've been doing a little bit of traveling. I've been going to the Black Hills of South Dakota, which is beautiful country if you've never been up there around Rapid City, and more specifically Sturgis, South Dakota. And you may be surprised by this from my prim and proper demeanor here on Coach Talk TV. But I am actually working with a friend, and we are going to be promoting flat track motorcycle races during the actual 80th annual Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. That's going to be August 7th through the 15th. We'll have 7 races in 3 different locations within 9 days. It's going to be crazy. And when I get off camera here, I'll probably pull my hair out because we're 2 weeks away, and I don't feel like I'm ready. But tell your friends, tell everybody, if you want to go out and you want to experience something amazing, come to Sturgis. Land of the free, home of the brave. And there's going to be, Sturgis brings in 500,000 people on a regular basis, and this is the 80th anniversary, and South Dakota is wide open, and all things are moving forward, and it's going to be a great time. And
that's where Rocky Raccoon lives, somebody says.
Rocky Raccoon?
Yeah, I don't know. I used to live there. Jason, did you know that? I have a daughter born in Rapid City.
Oh, yeah. I love Rapid City.
Yeah.
Right.
I taught them how to count to 100.
Yeah.
By counting motorcycles the first week in August every year.
Yeah. That's
Isn't
a good
that funny?
Yeah. Much better than cheap or, buttons or anything like that.
Yeah, because we would go out and we'd like, let's count the motorcycles. And so, hey, you do whatever you can when you're a homeschooling mama, which is what I was.
Yeah.
So anyway, fun
So, hey,
adventures for
let,
you.
let me do this one last bit of this plug. If you're interested in that or want to find out more, go to extremeflattrack.com, and that is actually, just let me throw this up here if I could do that. Yeah, there we go. Extreme Flat Tracks. Extreme is spelled XTREEM because I had to be different.
Oh,
And
hold on then. Tell me again. Extreme
XTREEM flattrack.com. And we're going to be at the Jack Pine Gypsies Short Track, the legendary Buffalo Chip Campground for the Buffalo Chip Super TT. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. It's going to be amazing. And then we'll be at Black Hills Speedway for the Rapid City Half Mile. But extremeflattrack.com. Go find us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook also, and you can see lots of cool stuff going on there. So
awesome. Put that in the chat box because you just ran it and I can't seem to get my fingers to work right on the link. But we do want people to go there and take a look at what you've got going on. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's a little off course from the coaching, but I consider myself a little more of a Renaissance man. I'm into everything.
Well, hey, you're coaching all the time if you're a coach, right?
True.
So for sure. Well, hey, we better get to it because I know that this conversation we're about to have is going to be very helpful to managers and people who are working with teams. So let's bring up Coach Scott Hunter. He is with Venandi Solutions and he has a mission. Listen to this: to create 1 million psychologically safe and innovative teams. Wow, he has worked with people all of his life and he has developed a keen understanding about how to get buy-in and performance through collaboration. He gets people to move from compliant to committed. Scott Hunter, where are you? Come on up and say hey to the people.
Hey to the people, greetings and salutations. How are you doing?
Greetings with the proper Brit and salutations, sir. How are you?
Absolutely.
Hey, good to see you. And so, you know what? We were talking before the show about your background is you are highly skilled in the art of negotiation, which is something that you bring to the coaching table. Tell us more about that.
It's kind of because I did 18 years in UK prison service. And it works slightly different to the Americans prison services. We're not armed. So the only way we can manage our processes is through collaboration with the prisoners. It's done through cooperation. So it's there's not a lot of us and there's a lot more of them. So you get buy-in by these people to abide by the rules, do what they're meant to do, look at how they can become better citizens in prison and on release, but you do it all through conversations with them. The use of force is minimal.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is just fascinating because it is quite different than here in the United States for sure. And so it is it is a dangerous situation still. You have to be able to negotiate to create compromise and to get things done, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where I started my interest of communicating with people, learning how we can use language and really understanding to negotiate. If you've got a wing or the area you've got is 70 prisoners and you're trying to get 70 people to go into their cells at the end of the night and you've got 10 minutes, you've got to ask them. Because you're doing 70 or 35, somebody else is doing another 35, and then somebody said between three of you, you've got 200 or 80 to 200 prisoners. Between 3 and 6 of you, trying to get them to go, and so they voluntarily give up their freedom.
Wow.
So that's where it came from. And then I moved into the national training. So I taught senior managers in the prison service about crisis management. So when it does go wrong, how do we manage that? And then actual hostage negotiators.
That's pretty incredible background that you bring into helping managers understand their teams, because especially in today's environment, as we're kind of moving out of a crisis, or we're trying to, and moving into, back into real life, I guess. Life is different now. And so help us understand some of the challenges that these managers are having with their teams right now. What's going on?
Well, I think it's so obviously we're all happened because of what's COVID's happened, and different teams have been treated differently. So in the UK, we had what we call a furlough scheme. So organisations could furlough their staff, which means they didn't work, and the government would pay 80% of their salary and that's winding down later on. So you may have had people who've been working during the virus in this team, trying to keep the company afloat, and you've got other people in the same team who are being sat at home, being paid for not working.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they're going to come back together and try and collaborate again. So you've got this potential conflict of you've been at home having your barbecue, seeing your friends, and I've been sitting here working, and basically we've been on the same money. So that type of friction. Also, the environment they're working in has changed. So they used to work in an office the way it does, but that's not going to return. So how do they start working again together as a team? There's also the heightened risk of job losses. So people are scared about their jobs, the security of their jobs, and also then what work are they going to go back to, and how can the team work together effectively to adapt to the new ways of working. I was talking to a friend of mine, and they work in the recruitment agency, and their staff are coming back, and they're saying they're working from home, which they never used to because they always used to work in an office, because the offices aren't big enough for people to work there and abide by the social distancing rules that exist in the UK. Some are, some aren't. So some of the teams will be working in the office, some of the teams will be working from home. But also, the recruitment field has changed beyond recognition in the 3 months. Certain jobs now nobody wants, other jobs that nobody wanted, they now want lots of people. So these people who have been out of this have to get up to speed quickly to help the organization adapt to this new environment.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges for sure going on right now. Yeah, Jason?
Well, Scott, I think you touched on it just a little bit, but as we see people coming back together through all of this, I mean, I would think that there's some extra pressure on management to be able to really work to get those teams to reconnect. You talked about some of the reasons why it would be difficult. One person's been working at home, or just hanging out, waiting to get their job back, and then other people have been having to work through all this. So, as a manager, how do you come back in and kind of put the glue down to bring your team back together?
I mean, to me, I think the secret's all in having a conversation. So if you want a system to change, you involve the whole system in that conversation. So the system in this instance is the team. So it's about helping them understand that what happened in COVID, what was people's learning from that, and then how can we as a team move forward. So how do we understand where we all are at and where we've come from over the last 12 months or 4 months, sorry. Then how are we going to work together to go forward? So it's creating that space to have those conversations. So you could ask the team to say things like, okay, what have you learned over the last 3 months? What's the biggest positive you can take away from COVID and the lockdown? And then what's the strengths that's you found out about yourself that you never realized you had before? And if you get the team talking about that, your conversation's on positive ground already. So you're starting to build an appreciation of each other as individuals in the team. So what you're doing is you're moving people from saying we're in conflict, so I can actually appreciate what you went through, and you're seeing this different perspective. Somebody might say, well, it was great because I had time at my home and I got to reconnect with my kids that I never thought I was having, and this has happened and that's happened, but I was really scared because I didn't think I'd have a job to come back to. And somebody else has said, well, what's good about me is I've realized I can do stuff because I was working and took on roles I never knew, so I'm much more confident than I used to be. And then you can say to them, well, what's important that you've taken away from COVID that's happened that you want to keep with us moving forward? And you get the team to sit there and thinking, this is how we want to work together, because I now understand what's important for everyone. So each team can create its individualized solution that's based on the needs and the wants of those teams, but aligned to what the organization needs. So to me, it's about having those conversations.
Right.
way.
What I really love the most about what you said is that it's understanding the individual experience and then seeing how it can help the team move forward, or how it's going to be, whatever that experience is, can be enculturated into where you're moving.
Yeah, and I think
the space.
the important thing you said is we're moving forward, and I think some of the language we use is we're going back. No, we don't go back. We can't go back. So it's about how do we move forward and have the conversation about, we can appreciate where we've come from, the experience we've had, and then how can we move that conversation into forward focus, not negative, and so we can move the conversation from challenges about people from having different perspectives about how hard it was for them and other people don't understand them, to having mutual appreciation of what everyone went through.
You know what it is? It's feeling heard.
Yes. So as a leader, to allow that to happen, you've got to have a psychologically safe. So you facilitate those conversations in a way that everyone has an equal voice. So that everyone is heard, everyone is listened to, and then they feel as if their opinion is validated or valid, and people are wanting to listen, and they're doing it without fear of repercussions or without fear of being ridiculed, because everyone's doing it from an area of stance of curiosity. I'm not judging you. I'm interested. Tell me what happens.
Yes, and giving them permission to express. What you're really doing, though, is you're allowing them to find the nuggets of positive and yet still be able to process the negative.
Yes, even though I'd say, because obviously we work with strengths a lot, and I work with appreciative inquiry, so we do work on the strengths, but you don't ignore the challenges. It's utilizing the strengths to overcome them, not looking at the strengths and ignoring what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, it's like refocusing on the strength of the team.
Yes, and what have we learned about us that we didn't know before?
Right.
Yeah. So what are we now? So then building more self-awareness.
And
you could gamify that as well. You could say to somebody, right, what I want you to do is write down something that you discovered about yourself that was surprising. They could put it into a pile, and somebody could pick it up and say, actually, I think this was Rhonda wrote this, or this is Jason wrote this. And then you can have a discussion about, why did I think that? And then I would say, no, that was me, because, oh, that's not surprising. I've now learned something new about you, but you're starting to learn about the perceptions of your team have about each other, but it's in a gamified, safe environment to have that conversation.
Interesting. Scott, I just have to ask, have you worked with any teams so far that, are you seeing almost more freedom in the fact that the way that teams are working together, whereas, I mean, we might have been, confined to our cubicles and doing that sort of thing before, but now managers are seeing the ability and maybe even more happiness from their employees that they get to work from home and they can manage that and they can get their work done. I mean, are you seeing any kind of changes like that in the overall view of how people work as a team together?
Yeah, I think as it's progressed, people are starting to realize that they can do stuff they possibly couldn't do before because of having this flexibility and this technology that wasn't available. I think one of the challenges that managers are facing, and is going to, I think, is a big shift within leadership within organizations, is how do you manage a remote team? Because the way we used to manage is watching somebody work and know what their output was, or we could see somebody being busy, or you can't see that. So some organizations have said, oh, somebody has a phone, and every time I ring them, I ask, why didn't you answer the phone? So it's like, why weren't you available? And somebody said, well, I was in the toilet. I'm not taking the phone to the toilet with me, or I was going out for a coffee because I've been stuck in my house for 3 months.
Right.
So I think some of that sort of presenteeism has to evolve. And again, yeah, there are signs that there's some leaders who are adapting that and looking at what does working remotely or hybrid allow us to do better that we couldn't do before.
Yeah.
And then how do I help facilitate that within my team? So, and then what do you need to do? But yeah, your point is, Jason, I think as we've got more used to the technology and how that works, I've seen company or teams sort of evolve and develop how they work. And also, because of obviously the shortened number of people in in offices. I think people have become much more flexible because of need.
Yeah.
This work has to be done. The person who normally does it isn't here, but so we do have to find a way of making this work. So I think that's kind of sort of happening as a necessity in business. So
It occurs to me that some of the issues and the challenges that the managers are needing to help their people with in this remote situation is also managing the family, because they're in the space of the family. You know what I'm saying? It's like the work has come to the family home.
yeah, I think it totally should change the way we look at work-life balance, because there isn't a balance between work-life. They're intertwined now. Whereas before, when you talked about work-life balance, you still says I'm at times at home, then I'm at work, and we can separate it. Now
Not.
thing going on, and some people say, do you know what, I've got kids who get up early. Some people say my husband works this and I work this, or whatever it is. So there's so many more different pressures and challenges, needs and wants that we have as teams. So it's finding and navigating a way around that and delivering. So conversations you can have with your team is get clarity on what your outputs are. So you become outcome focused and saying, understanding the strengths you've uncovered about yourself and the way you like to work. How can you help us achieve this? So people are saying, well, I can do this, this, and this for us. And then but we need this to do. Well, if we work this way, then I can liaise with Rhonda, because I know, Rhonda, when you like to work. So if you do that, I can do the morning bit, because you don't, for whatever reasons, you can't do mornings, but I can. I'm happy getting up at 6 in the morning. So I'll do the emails first thing in the morning. I'll get rid of all that, and then I'll do a handover with you for a couple of hours, and you can do the late bit. So as a team, we can start to self-regulate, self-manage. I think the bit that really needs to be involved in that is trust. I think trust at the center of the relationship between leaders and teams and inter-team is more important now than it ever has been, because of the lack of traditional controls of how we work.
Right.
So I think the trust is pivotal.
Well, the other option is to put all of those controls in the home.
And that's impractical. It just doesn't work.
Well, it's impractical, but it also it does not breed trust. That's what it doesn't need.
So you'll say, some people say, I've got a meeting with my team at 10 o'clock in the morning. And you say, well, why do you have it? Well, I just want to know they're working. No, because they know that's why you're doing it. And then there is no trust. And the risk is, when you work remotely, is the only time you talk to somebody else in your team is about work. So it's finding a way within a team that, again, this is where you can have the conversation, is how can we maintain this level of social connectiveness that's important to team cohesion, even if we're not. So like, how do we have water cooler conversations
while you're online?
Yeah. So what's our virtual water cooler conversations? How are they going to manifest themselves? How are we going to create those as a team to help?
Have you what are companies doing right now for that water cooler experience? What kinds of things are they doing?
So some of them, they say they have a meeting, a regular meeting, and they just say it doesn't matter what you do. It's not compulsory. It's optional.
Right.
And in this meeting, you are not allowed to talk about work. So it's 20 minutes, or if you have a meeting and 20 minutes of that meeting is non-work related. There's no dress code in how you turn up as well. So none of this have to wear a shirt or a tie or whatever it is, as long as obviously not naked, because that would be rude. But
that's good. I can show up in my pajamas. Those are my favorite places to go.
People are happy. You're not client facing and you're only in your team. I don't see if there's a problem with that, as long as it's not offensive what you're doing and offended to anybody else. I can't see a problem with somebody being comfortable if they're productive. What's the need to have a dress code? You give me the output of the dress code and the value it adds, and you can argue with it. If you can't give me a value, it's another control mechanism put in place.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure we've put suit and tie companies out of business through this thing. Like they're not the tailor's not coming back.
And that's because I think when you take something away from somebody, they want it. So I still think,
well, maybe
in your pajamas all the time, then guys would want to go out in suits and ties rather than jeans and t-shirt.
Oh, that's kind of funny. Yeah, you're probably right.
We might get, we don't dress up at night in the day like we used to go to work. We'll dress up in the evenings. I think people still like to, So I don't know if you've got the same in America. We have in the UK called booted and suited, looking all prim and proper and stuff. So I think there are going to be changes, and it's about trying to navigate those changes and saying what's the possibilities that are now available to us because of this working environment.
Mm-hmm. You know, this is or can be. It occurs to me that the person with the most pressure in this during these challenges are the managers, because they are under the pressure of the business, plus now they're under the pressure of taking care of their people. So this is where coaching comes in, to be able to help them learn how to navigate these. You know, don't go it alone, because your whole world has changed, you know.
And
I guess
a lot of the way managers learn, we learn managerial systems or processes first, and they're most of them are no longer viable or very good. So there's sort of the safety net we used to have for management to manage. A lot of that's gone. So I agree. I think it's much more about leadership than management now, and it's coaching people, understanding how to do that effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Much more important. It's as you say, the individualize of the relationships, the conversations they can have with people, and creating that space for the safe space, and massively increasing their level of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm. And allowing them to contribute in ways that are more efficient for them, more efficient and more innate.
Yeah.
It's like all the rules, you know.
Well, everything's up for reimagination. Everything is up for so the question is not say why can't we do this, or just reimagine what you can do.
How can we? Yes, I like to flip that question.
Well, you can't answer a statement, but you can answer a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you say we can't connect because it's virtual, well, that's not suggesting any solutions. But then it's just as a statement, and then that can become the new norm in which we base our decisions on. But if you then ask the question, how might we, utilizing the advantages of Zoom or whatever platform you're using, connect and collaborate better than we did before?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not throwing out the old stuff. You want to keep some of the stuff that's good, but you want to build on the availabilities to create something that's better in the future.
Sure.
Do you see a benefit to either the manager working one-on-one with a coach to try to develop this knowledge and direction, or should managers be thinking about bringing in a coach to work with the entire team, or maybe both is the option there?
I think it partly is the confidence of the manager or the leader themselves. How confident are they in having those conversations with a bit of coaching, or how confident are they not? And as I've found as a facilitator, you can give somebody, I mean, how many leadership training programs is presentation skills in there? And it's because people don't feel comfortable presenting. So if you're having these conversations, especially if they're not one-on-one but in teams, it's more of a facilitative approach than so I would say, how confident is the manager or the leader themselves to start facilitating those conversations? And they might just need help in actually managing themselves and facilitating that. But other times they said no, they want somebody to come and watch it because they want it to go right, and they don't trust themselves enough at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, or they're recognizing that, you know, this is new. These are new waters that they have never traversed, and they need a little help too, right? Because I think that's where so many people are in. The waters are like, we've never been here before. So it's having someone by you to help is important too, if you're the manager of a team.
Yeah. So I've created a model of leadership, which is massively applicable now because it's about creating these psychological. And there's two assets that are linked to what you're saying. One is being self-aware. So for leaders to be self-aware about themselves, and then the two is the capabilities, and understanding your own capabilities, your strengths, your areas you can excel in, the areas that perhaps you can't, and then being humble enough to ask for help. I think that's important. So to answer your question, Jason, I think a lot of it is about the self-awareness and how humble is the leader.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm. And so true. So true. So, a lot of managers are facing challenges and these, they look at these as struggles, but I know you're going to give us tips on how to turn all of that into opportunities. So
Okay.
fill us in on that.
I think one of the things to remember is the language used guides the mind of you and other people. So earlier on, I said a statement or a problem statement will not solve anything. It doesn't open the mind to think. So what I would suggest is to use the phrase "How might we," and then you flip the problem into "How might we?" question, and then you open it up to debate and discussion. So an example might be, so we say about we're not a team because we don't work how we used to because we're working remotely. So how might we question might be, how can we utilize the adaptability we now have available or in working from home to help us achieve our targets? So what you're looking is at what it actually does and then what you want it to come from. So when you phrase a how might we question, so the reason how might we is quite important is how it suggests there is an answer because you're asking for a solution. Might is there's more than one solution, so you're not looking for an answer. You're looking for the potential for multiple answers, and you're giving people the freedom to come up with multiple answers. And then we indicates the solution is within the team itself. So when you phrase the question that way, you're asking the people to do that. And the key for how might we, it should be positive in its outlook. So what it's trying to achieve, it's not negative. And it's about looking for excellence as well. So an example would be I was working with a friend of mine and he was running an IT company and he wanted to put a membership site up and he wanted monthly and annual membership. And he was scared that people on monthly would log in, pay for their first month, download the stuff, and then cancel their membership and he would lose money. But that is negative thinking because all that's doing is restriction. You're looking at how can I stop people doing something? But if you ask the question, how might we make the experience so good nobody wants to leave? You open it up to thinking much more about restricting stuff, but you're now opening your mind to new areas of thinking, which will give you more creativity and innovation, which opens up the opportunity for more solutions. So your questions should be specific enough for people to know what they're doing. They should be positively framed because you're looking for solutions. And they should be broad enough to allow people the scope to think of multiple solutions. So if you're, how might we indicates one set of solutions or one way of thinking, then you need to broaden it. If it's too broad and doesn't give people guidance, then you need to make it slightly more specific to aid in that thinking process. And then it's facilitating the conversation with your team to help look at what's going on in a more positive framework. Potential solutions.
Wow. That is so powerful. I usually stay away from the how questions because how can get you in stuck, How do I do that? You get locked up in the Michael Dooley calls it the cursed hows. But the way you have howed it, it's exactly what you're talking about. It does open that space because of the way you framed it. So what an amazing way of reframing how. How might we allows you to stay in that creative space in your mind.
And then that's all the way. And there's another thing I'll talk about. And imagine if you have a glass of water, and especially in COVID, you'll say, "Is my glass half full or half empty?" That's irrelevant. It's the water. That's what you have. So if you examine your water as a team, as an organization, what is it that you have that's a strength that is your water? So things like, is it the experience, your network, your illicit knowledge, your concrete knowledge? Is it a product's innovation, culture? What is it that you can really examine the strengths by using the analogy of water? Then the next question is, who needs it? And then how do I get it to them? So it's a way of re-examining how you look at a problem rather than sitting there going, we can't do this because nobody's working now. So our business model is dead. Well, the current business model may not be effective, but what strengths or skills and things do you currently own in your business? Who needs those and how do you get them to them? So it stops you just thinking about our business model and improving it. It can actually really appreciating what you have as a team or as an organization and how you can get it out to whoever needs it.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm thinking of like jumping like you're frog jumping from one point to forward again with each part of that question. Fantastic.
So to me, it's sort of to do it, it's a bit like coaching, isn't it? We use coaching and the power of a conversation, the power of the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing is if we reframe questions, you open the mind to different ways of thinking. And if you do that, then say the loosest definition of creativity is looking at something from a different perspective. So if you can ask a question that does that, you will automatically create creativity in your teams.
Yes. Love that. Jason?
Well, Scott, we're getting close on time here, but I just wanted to ask you, you've provided so much great information during the show, but would you have a final piece or most important piece of advice for a manager or an employee even on what they should be doing at this particular juncture, or maybe how a manager can take the team, who's been feeling compliant and move them to being more committed into what they're doing?
I think the first thing is like any team. So a really quick way is to get a team charter. So create a team charter. It's one of the best ways to do it. And it's 3 simple steps. There are more complicated ones, but this will probably take you 1.5 hours. You can split it in 3 30-minute sessions.
Is that the same thing as like a team mission statement?
Similar. So you get the team, a bit like Simon Sinek says, and says, why do we exist? Not what we do, but why do we exist? So get the team to generate their own why statement. And you can facilitate that conversation. Then you can say, okay, to achieve that, what do we need to do? So then they start agreeing on the roles or responsibilities or tangible outcomes that they need to do to achieve their mission. Then the third question is, how do we need to act to achieve that with each other? So they're then creating a behavioral framework. So the team itself has created a very broad mission statement, KPIs, and a behavioral framework in 90 minutes. Just
wow. Yeah, it's the same thing that you were mentioning before, how to take a challenge and turn it into an opportunity. It's really that same process, right?
Yeah, so we know we're coming back to work. We need to know how can we make this the best it can be, rather than saying it's not going to be the same, we're not going to be able to do that. So grab what's important, and then how can you utilize what you have to still deliver? Keep the essence of why the team's there and your objectives.
Yes.
Once you start talking to people about purpose, the what becomes less important. So we don't get stuck on the what, so the what becomes flexible. It's in negotiation. So if you move the conversation up to principles, then actions become less important to people. So they don't get stuck on what they're doing. So they become much more flexible about adapting and changing. Whereas most times we talk to people, they tell you about what they do and they get attached to the task. Get people attached to the purpose, then the task becomes less relevant for them and they're more open to change in that on that level.
I love that, because it is kind of like the why, the purpose. Why are we even doing this?
Yes. So what are we hoping to achieve?
Yeah. Yeah. So one real quick thing before we go, I know that you are getting ready to launch a new podcast. I
am. I did my first 2 interviews today.
Yeah.
So the good thing is you don't actually have to listen to me talk, which is great. You probably have no viewers now. I just ask questions and let people chat about things that are important to them. And
sure.
As of the ethos, it's with me. The podcast is How Might We? That's the title of the podcast. And then it's whatever anybody wants to talk about that's important to them and the workplace, or their thoughts and opinions about where we're going, what's going to happen in the future, and how we can change and adapt to become successful. So I've got people lined up about customer experience, innovation, creativity. Somebody else tomorrow about engagement. Totally going to change how we engage in colleagues now, because social events are not going to happen. And there's a risk of having us and them. We work at home and work in the office. So how do we engage both? So there people have got what they're interested in, and there's just an opportunity for 30 minutes. Just talk about it. Hopefully at the end, give 5 tips on how my organizations achieve that.
Well, we are looking forward to information about that when that comes out. I know you're getting ready to release that soon.
First week in August.
Awesome.
Right on.
Well, if you've got a team, we want to invite you to reach out to Scott. And on that note, Scott, we will see you in the chat room later.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
You do it.
We're
Sorry about
fighting-
that. That was a little power struggle there.
I know. First world problems.
Sorry about that. That was on me. Wow, though, wasn't Scott, didn't you have some great things to great questions for managers to ask their teams that I think are absolutely critical today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much good information in there. I encourage people to go back and watch that again if you're watching it now, and watch it a couple of times, because just obviously Scott is a deep thinker and has really put some things together about this that can really help managers and teams and in this. And I think probably anybody that's coming out of a crisis situation, as he spoke of, it's really good stuff.
Yeah, he knows how to deal with those for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, everybody, we are so happy that you joined us today. And guess what? We will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Dawn Landry will be with us, 10 a.m. Central. And so we will be back every day for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, be sure you find us on our Facebook page, coachtalk.tv. If you just type in coachtalk.tv, that'll take you straight to the Facebook page. Don't forget about our YouTube channel, and then watch for the audio podcast to drop here in the very near future for all of these shows. And thanks for tuning in. We're back.
Yo-ho, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.